I looked at a lot of the things that I used to be afraid of, and I would always say like, I can't do this or I can't do that because I'm this and I'm that. And I think once you start to really get into mental health, you really see how the mind works, and you start to realize like the only person that's stopping me from doing that is myself, because I think I can't do it for whatever reasons, but those reasons aren't even real. It's just like a thing you've put in your head. Hi, my name's Jarred. I am a mental health advocate on social media, but in my day to day, I'm a publicist. I secure media coverage for nonprofits and charities. Um, but I recently did delve more into having like a social media presence after my roommate, who I had lived with for the last 3 years, committed suicide back in August. So it kind of was like a sharp shift in my life, and I think what I felt my purpose was, and I think that is to speak on mental health, to try to help normalize it a little bit better. A lot of people look at my videos and they think that I am a therapist or a life coach, and I'm neither one of those things. I'm too lazy to go back to school and get a degree in therapy. But I really just post those videos based on how I feel. Like a lot of times, the videos that I post, um, I I make them the same day I post them. I posted one a few days ago that was like more funny, and it's like me talking about not being stressed out or thinking about the same things over and over again, and not allowing my anxiety to run away with me. And then the rest of the video is me showing me how I literally do think about it for the rest of the day, and how my anxiety runs away with me, exactly what I was trying not to do. So I try to be authentic and talk about mental health from a place that I think most people deal with it. Like you see a lot of times where people put these quotes, it's like, you got this and just do better and all of that. I'm like, that's bullshit. Nobody feels like that every day. No, I don't feel like people feel like that most of the time. Like you're trying to when you have struggles with mental health or anxiety or depression, you're trying your best just to get through the day. And I know sometimes for me, having these like super positive messages honestly are annoying. And I just try to be more authentic and real about how a lot of people feel. And I feel like that's why it's been doing so well. And people have been so engaged with me, because I'm telling them how I feel like I'm saying what everyone else is thinking. But a lot of people hide behind a veil of trying to be perfect and saying these mantras and snapping their fingers and everything is fixed. And I know well enough that that's not how it works. So I think for a very long time, I was in denial about having any type of mental health, anything, especially depression. Like I did not want to admit that to myself. In my mind, it was always like, well, yeah, I get sad sometimes, but doesn't everybody? So like that's how I looked at it. But then in my like mid 20s, it started getting really bad. And that's when I started looking into it more and started taking medication for it. And so even still now, when it does pop back up, it's kind of like, okay, well, I've been here before. So like I know how to handle it a little bit better. I don't think it ever gets easy to handle, but it becomes easier to handle. I'm a black man from the South. And I don't know if you're familiar, but like down South, people are very churchy. And it's like mental health isn't a real thing. You just need to pray and talk to Jesus and you'll be fine. And I had that mentality for a very long time. Even though also a gay guy, like I had that mentality for a very long time, like, oh, all I need is Jesus and I just need to pray and I'll be fine. But then when I moved to New York City, I think my worldview broadened a lot going from Alexandria, Louisiana to New York City. And it showed me that like some of my issues were a lot deeper than I even realized, because I thought I was fine. But I think when I got to New York City and I got older and my life did stabilize a little bit, I was able to start looking at like some of the emotional turmoil that I was dealing with that I didn't even know I was dealing with. Um, so that's when I started seeing a therapist. That was around the time I started taking medication as well for my anxiety and depression. And I was doing pretty well. And then like around 30, I mean, the pandemic hit and a lot of crazy things in my life personally, like pandemic aside, happened. And it kind of sent me spiraling back into that old place of like being really down and depressed and like, I mean, having days where I wouldn't even want to get up out of bed or brush my teeth or eat. And I was going through that, and then I decided to I made the decision to move to DC. And then like 3 weeks after I got to DC, I found out that my roommate took his own life. And when that happened, I felt a lot of guilt about not having talked to him about my mental health issues, because we were literally going through the same thing while we were living together. But because society has this idea that like you don't talk about mental health or you're fucking crazy or something, he was right across the hall and we could have been helping each other go through this, but we didn't even tell the other that that's what we were dealing with. So when I got the call, I was shocked, like in complete disbelief. I actually thought the person that called me at first was joking. But I was in complete disbelief. And I remember after he passed, feeling guilty. And I was like, I can't keep acting like these things aren't happening. People cannot keep acting like mental health isn't a real thing. So I was kind of like, fuck it. I'm just gonna put all my business out there and I'm just gonna start talking about it on my social media. And that was scary for me because I'm typically a private person. It's not really something I do, but after I found out that my roommate passed away, I also found out 2 other of my friends had attempted suicide and had to be taken to psychiatric wards. And I didn't even know that happened because people don't talk about it. Like, it was all news to me. So I was shocked. And I was a little hurt that they never brought it up, but I was like, I don't feel like we live in a space where people feel comfortable talking about those things. So I was like, I'm just gonna put it on social media and hopefully it helps push along conversations. And it has, at least with me, like I'll have people reaching out to me and telling me like, I've suffered with thoughts of suicide, I've suffered with depression, I've suffered with drug use. And because I see your videos, like maybe now I will go to therapy, or maybe now I will consider medication. I don't think everyone's gonna go about it the same way I did. It's like putting all of your business on Instagram. But I think if nothing else you take from my videos is being like, maybe I should go see a therapist, then my job is done. Like, I just want people to start feeling more comfortable in talking about it and kind of like coming to terms with having issues with mental health, and that it doesn't make you a fucking basket case. Opening myself up more to mental health and talking about it and being honest with myself. First of all, it's a painful process because I think sometimes for you to grow and heal, you have to like look at a lot of bad things that have happened in your life directly and like tackle them. And so I would tell anybody this, that if you're going through the process of like really trying to up your mental health, depending on like what you suffer with anxiety, depression, but if you're really trying to grow in your mental health, it's like you're gonna feel sad for a while because you have to like, I feel like on a day-to-day we kind of not lie to ourselves, but we kind of put a lot of things in the back burner that have happened to us in our life. We just don't want to face it. So I think facing those things is tough and can be sad, first of all. But I think once you get past that, it's like taking a lot of the parameters off of your mind. I looked at a lot of the things that I used to be afraid of, and I would always say like, I can't do this or I can't do that because I'm this and I'm that. And I think once you start to really get into mental health, you really see how the mind works, and you start to realize like, the only person that's stopping me from doing that is myself, because I think I can't do it for whatever reasons, but those reasons aren't even real. It's just like a thing you've put in your head. I learned in therapy that everyone has a core of beliefs, and your core beliefs are usually founded somewhere between like being a toddler and like 10 years old. And because children operate in absolutes, you may see one thing as a child and see it as either black or white because you don't have the mind to understand the complexities of how the world works. But as you get older, you keep those same mindsets. And that's what I was doing. And I think like when I really started getting into mental health, I realized I was like, oh, this is all bullshit. This is from when I was like 7 years old. And my mom said something about don't touch the stove. And now I'm traumatized for the rest of my life about that. But you realize at 31, like, you were 7 fucking years old. That was a long time ago. Like, that's not how the world works. Like, take these parameters off your mind and like go out there and get what you want. And I think it adds to like a healthier mental health. It's tough, but it does add to it. And there are some philosophical questions about life that I feel like we'll never know the answer to. Lately, I've been wondering like, what happens after you die? And the only people that can tell us that are dead. So I guess I'll find out when I die. But like, I've been thinking about a lot of those things. And I do think that delving further into mental health does not necessarily help you answer it, but it does kind of help you feel a little bit more at ease about some things that in life that you can't answer. Because it is some shit no one's gonna have the answer for it, you know? As a marginalized community, there's a lot of shit that I have to deal with. Like, you know, I grew up in a very religious household. So like my parents were not having it about the whole gay thing. Like that did not go well. Like me and my dad used to like physically fight over that. It's rough. And I think that I know for me, it's manifested a lot in relationships and how I date. Because like my home life being so hectic, my first definition of what love is supposed to be or what it's supposed to look like was fussing and fighting and cussing and like all of those types of things. So when you get older, even though you know that's not normal, it feels normal to you. It feels safe to you. So like when I would try to date guys who were just nice, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, why aren't like we should be arguing or fighting? Like we shouldn't be like this shouldn't be this easy. Now that doesn't make any fucking sense because you're supposed to want to date someone who really likes you and wants to be with you. But in my head, I didn't see it that way. I think that sometimes you can have a lot of mental weights put on you from people who I feel like think they felt like they were doing what was right. Because I do think my parents thought that they were doing what was right. But I mean, obviously, everyone knows like you don't pick to like your sexuality. It just kind of it is what it is. And so I think over time they realized that us being difficult with Jared isn't going to change anything. But by that point, the damage is done, you know. And so now, honestly, in my late 20s, going to my early 30s, I really had to start breaking down a lot of that on my mind because like I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. Like I lived in New York City, so I was running up all and down the streets doing the things that the gays do. But I think breaking down some of the almost like self-hate that was put on me, not by myself, because I didn't hate myself, but I was told that like you're bad and you're gonna go to hell and all these things. Like really having to break down that those like kind of chains on my mind. Similar with being Black, like living down south, Black people are often treated like you're supposed to stay in your place and you're not supposed to step too far out of line and don't say too much. And that, similar to the gay thing, like it creates this like inferiority, like I'm not good enough. And that can add to feelings of anxiety, especially because I know like not feeling good enough in that respect, that bled over to when I was at work and always feeling like I had to do so much more work than everybody else. I had to be so much better because in my mind, I was like, if I mess up even in the slightest, they're going to fire me because I'm not good enough. Try your best to find some type of outlet to talk about how you feel. Um, Either like a therapist or I mean, for me, social media has been like a huge outlet. Like a lot of times I almost treat those reels like therapy sessions because like I said, that's how I feel in the moment. But find an outlet. I think if you bottle all of that up and hold it in and don't ever let it out, you might end up doing something drastic. And I would hate for anybody to get to that point. So just vent, let it out, and be real with yourself. If you feel like you're dealing with anxiety, stop acting like it's not a thing. Like, be honest with yourself about what you're feeling and be vocal about it.